Hello and welcome to another lovely edition of Drone Man Scotland. Today we'll be looking at St Martins Kirk in Haddington. The proud ruin of St Martins Kirk stands on the very eastern edge of Haddington. To its east is a playing field and beyond that, open countryside. From the west and the south, it is overlooked by houses built during the 20th century expansion of Haddington. A wee fact about East Lothian, it used to be called Haddingtonshire. Mentally. The Kirk's story begins in the mid-late 1100s, when Alexander de St Martin was granted land around Haddington from Countess Ada, the mother of William I, the Lion. In turn, he gifted the land to the Cistercian nunnery of St Mary, about a kilometre to the east of the Kirk. The road connecting St Martins to the nunnery was called the Nungate, and as Haddington developed, the suburb of Nungate grew around the Kirk. At some point in its life, probably during the late 1200s, St Martins was extensively redeveloped. It seems that at this time, the previous ceiling was replaced by barrel vaulting in stone, whose added weight was countered by the addition of 6 buttresses to the outer walls of the Kirk. An upper floor was inserted within the Kirk above the barrel vaulting, and both gables were rebuilt to a much greater height to accommodate this, with windows inserted into the west gable above the vaulting. A notable resident of Nungate was John Knox, who went on to become the architect of the Scottish Protestant Reformation in 1560. Knox may have attended services in St Martins as a boy. I'd just like to interlude here to mention a supporter of the Drone Man family, Marie Macpherson. If you're into historical fiction, which I imagine some of you are, she has written 3 popular and well-reviewed books which make up a trilogy known as the John Knox Trilogy. They are called The First Blast of the Trumpet, The Second Blast of the Trumpet, and The Last Blast of the Trumpet. Hales Castle, which we have already done a video on previously, is actually the setting for the first of these books, so if it's your bag, go and check it out. We'll leave a link to the first book in the series in this video's description, as well as a wee link to our Hales Castle video if you're interested. Knox, ordained as a Catholic priest, grew to become one of the key figures in the 16th century Scottish Reformation, which advocated for Protestantism. The 1560 attack that caused St Martin's roof to collapse is likely to have been organised by Knox in what some see as a possible act of retribution. Others would likely disagree. Its chancel may have been pulled down then, and today the rectangular nave is all that remains. St Martins has seen many changes during its life, and these contribute to several unresolved issues which add considerably to the enjoyment of a visit to what at first can seem a rather featureless ruin. The first unresolved issue concerns the date of its building. Although it is possible to date the founding of Countess Ada's nunnery reasonably closely, many feel that St Martins itself may date back to the early 1100s, suggesting it predated the arrival of the nunnery and was incorporated into its precinct. Before we delve any further, I just want to give you a wee definition, because some of you might not know what a chancel actually is. So here's a definition all the way from Google. The part of a church near the altar reserved for the clergy and choir, and typically separated from the nave by steps or a screen. So I hope that helps a wee bit. Now, two further unresolved issues are intriguing. The first concerns what today appears to be an arched door in the east gable. In 1896, it was written that recent excavations had uncovered traces in the ground of a chancel measuring 12 feet square, which would mean that the arched door was a chancel arch. The oddity was that when further excavations were undertaken in 1912, no trace of the chancel was found, and if you look at the exterior face of the west gable, where you might expect to see traces of a roofline if a chancel had stood there, nothing is obvious. The oddest thing of all is that there appears to be evidence of ancient alien technology. No, I'm joking, sorry. The oddest thing of all about the structure of St Martins is the way all four walls are pierced all the way through by rows of square holes which look to have been part of the original construction of the kirk. It is common to find putlog holes in the exterior faces of large medieval buildings in which wooden posts were inserted to provide a support for scaffolding to allow work on the upper parts of the building. But these holes appear far too large for that, and the rows seem too closely spaced one above another. Neither does the theory explain why the entire thickness of a 4.5 feet thick wall would have been pierced. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching and delving into the mysteries surrounding St Martins Kirk with us. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. If you don't, we'll come to your house and do a John Knox on your roof. I am of course joking. We're lovely people and would never do such a thing. Anyway, thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you for the next one. Cheery bye for now.